In this demonstration, we'll look at configuring printing in Windows for a printer that is directly connected to the workstation. Most printers connect with a USB connection. With USB, you simply connect the printer to the workstation and Windows automatically configures the printer. I'll plug in my USB printer and let's look at what happens. Windows has detected a new device and asked me what I want to do. Before I actually locate the driver, let me open the status window to see the progress of the installation. And then we'll tell it to locate and install the driver software automatically. Notice here that Windows is searching Windows Update for the driver that corresponds to this printer. This means that Windows currently doesn't have the driver for my printer, and so is going to the Windows Update website to search for that driver. Notice that Windows Update has located the correct driver, and now the driver is being downloaded. And now the driver is being installed. And finally, the status indicates the printer is ready to use. Let's check out the device that has recently been added to the computer. Let's first go to Device Manager, and notice that there is no category for a printer listed in the devices in Device Manager. That is because, unlike other hardware devices, you don't manage printers using Device Manager. Instead, you'll go to Control Panel and use the Printers applet to manage the printers that are installed on the system. Here we can see the printer that was just recently detected and automatically installed. The other printers that exist on this system are default logical printers that come when Windows is installed. They don't represent physical printer, but are rather logical printers. To set the new printer to my default printer, I'll simply right-click it and choose Set as Default Printer. Notice that Windows has chosen a name for the printer that is based off of the printer model and manufacturer. If I want to change this name, I can right-click and go to Properties, and then here I can change the printer name. On the Ports tab, you can see the port that is being used by the printer. In this case, it is using a USB port. On the Advanced tab, I can see the driver that was used to configure this printer. So that's how you configure a USB printer. You simply connect the printer to the workstation and Windows automatically detects the printer, downloads the driver if necessary, and configures it. Be aware that for many printers, they will come with additional software that will provide additional functionality for your printer. Instead of downloading the driver when you connect the printer, you will most likely want to install the software that came with the printer, which will also install the driver. Then you'll connect the printer after you've installed that software. If your printer uses an interface other than a USB port, you'll need to manually configure the printer. To do that, in the Printers folder, choose Add a Printer. And you have the option between adding a local printer or a network or wireless printer. We're installing a local printer that is connected, for instance, to the parallel port of this computer. Notice that it tells us to use this option only if you don't have a USB printer. They would prefer that Windows automatically installs USB printers when you plug them in, rather than to manually configure them in this manner. So let's choose Local Printer, and then I choose the port that I will use for my printer. Notice I can use parallel ports, serial ports, or other logical port types. In this case, I'll choose the second parallel port on this computer. Next, I need to choose the manufacturer and model of my printer. When I select the manufacturer, I have a list of models to choose from, and these are the ones that Windows has a driver for. If your printer is not in the list, you could choose the Windows Update button, in which case Windows will search Windows Update for an updated list of printers that might be available. Another option is to choose the Have Disk option. With this option, you would insert the disk that holds the drivers for your printer and use that disk for installing the drivers. In this case, I'll select my printer model and click Next. And then I can give it a name. And this box allows me to set the printer as the default printer, or if I deselect it, then my current default printer will remain as the default printer. Now that it's installed, I could print a test page, or in this case, I'll just finish. And here's my second printer that I've just added. So when you're installing printers, probably the first thing to do is to use the software that comes with the printer. Install that software first, then connect your printer. If your printer is a USB printer, you could connect the printer to the USB port, and Windows will automatically detect the printer and configure a printer object for that device. If the printer uses a parallel port or some other port besides a USB port, you'll need to manually create the printer object for the print device.